The Council of Ministries in Saudi Arabia has finally decided to address the issue of domestic violence. They have banned domestic violence, whereas in the beginning they didn't even really believe that it existed, or they pretended as if it didn't exist. So according to the Huffington Post, the Council of Ministries approved of the law Monday, and it marks the first time the country has officially recognized domestic violence as a punishable crime. Offenders may face up to a year in prison and a maximum fine of 50,000 Saudi riyal, and that's according to this Saudi Gazette. So that's good news. I mean, I'm happy that they address it. I don't know how they will implement these new laws, but the fact that they at least recognize that domestic violence is a real problem that needs to be addressed is a good start.
Yeah, there's been a lot of international and domestic pressure to make some moves. Now, this is unfortunately just one of many different changes they need to even approach the level of gender equality we have in America, and we're not even completely there. And there's been this campaign that's been ongoing where they're displaying these images of Saudi women in the full traditional garb, and you can see underneath that she has a black eye. And that was very powerful coming before this legal change, because it was admitting in public that this goes on, that this dark secret that Saudi Arabia has been hiding is actually going on, and there's a caption on it that says some things can't be covered. And I think that that's wonderful, and that's how change works.
That's a huge change for Saudi Arabia to have that sort of acknowledgement in this anti-abuse campaign that they have launched. Mm-hmm. It's hard to express from what I remember hearing about it as a kid up until now about, women are not allowed to go anywhere without a male guardian in place. Obviously, there are other major changes that need to happen before women will have even the remote possibility of any kind of equality, or even just not even being targeted in Saudi Arabia. But this is a really big deal.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for us to even understand how backwards things there are. It was only, like 8 months or 10 months ago that women couldn't vote. Now they technically can vote, but it hasn't kicked in yet for another 2 years. So women can't even vote there. They still can't drive without a man, and I think in certain parts of the country they can't drive at all.
You can't walk outside.
You can't walk outside without a man, and they still can't drive. So some of this stuff, of course this is great, of course, but some of this stuff is going to take 20 years, or it could take 2 generations to have any real tangible result. And because of that, even though we don't have perfect equality here, of course, we can't really even begin to understand what the average woman is going through on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and another problem, and this is something that the human rights organizations that are watching Saudi Arabia have been talking about. It's one thing and a good thing to have the law in the books. It's another to make sure that the police, who are men in Saudi Arabia who have benefited from and helped prop up this patriarchal society, will actually do something about it day to day. And the one good move that they made is that you can accuse someone of engaging in this domestic abuse, which, by the way, doesn't just have to be to your wife. It can be to domestic servants as well, and there's a huge problem in Saudi Arabia there. You can do that and do it anonymously, and that's a big thing that I think is going to be very important.
Can I just toss in one other thing? I think it's really interesting, this thing that's going on with Russia and gay rights, obviously horrific. But if you took all the Arab countries that treat their women like this, we would never be, we don't have Olympics. I don't think we've ever had an Olympics in an Arab country, but it's just as equal how we treat gay people and how we treat women. Yep. So there's so many countries in the world that still have no even just baseline, this is how we should treat people equally. And it's kind of hard to believe that still exists.